When was
course
the
he
last
does.
election? When was the last election?
Well, we tried to hold elections in 2021, and
When was the last election?
Foreign language is English.
You are a repellent reptile. You're a reptile.
Okay. Joining us for a discussion on the latest on this ceasefire deal is Norman Finkelstein, a political scientist and author of the new book Gaza's Gravediggers, an inquiry into corruption in high places. Dr. Jamal Nizal is back with us, a spokesperson for the Palestinian political party Fatah. And rounding out our panel is Hussein Abdulhussein, a research fellow at the Foundation for Defence of Democracies. Gentlemen, welcome to Counterpoints and thanks for being with us. Not even a week into this latest ceasefire, and it already looks as if it could be under strain. There's no doubt that given the scale of destruction across the Gaza Strip, it was always going to be a complex task to retrieve the bodies of all the hostages taken during the October 7 attacks and return them to Israel. But that is exactly what Hamas signed on to, agreeing to do it within 72 hours, and yet it has failed to uphold that side of the agreement. And that has caused consternation across the border in Israel. Norman, are you surprised that this ceasefire is already looking shaky?
There are two things to say. Number one, I find it positively disgusting that you're framing this as a failure on the part of Hamas. Are you not aware, can you really not be aware that there are 50 million tons of rubble in Gaza? Are you not aware that according to the international humanitarian organizations, it'll take until the year 2050 to clear out the rubble in Gaza?
And yet Hamas knows
now,
this too, but they still agree to it.
Excuse me. If Hamas says it can't find some of the bodies in the rubble, you're now blaming them for that? Can you possibly comprehend how outrageous a statement that is?
Okay.
And the fact that while we're all talking about the buried hostage bodies in Gaza, there are literally, conservatively, thousands of Palestinian bodies buried in Gaza. Are you not concerned about them as well?
It's not a zero-sum game. We can be concerned about both things at the same time.
Yeah, but you didn't mention the other bodies.
Because it's the first question of our debate, sir, and that's where we're beginning. Why don't I hand it over to Hussein and see what's your take on it? Do you think it's a failing on Hamas, or do you think that Norman has a very valid point there?
Yeah, well, of course, if you sign on a deal wherein you commit to do something, it's advisable that you do it. And this is on both sides. If the Israelis kept their part of the bargain, I think it's only logical for Hamas to keep their part of the bargain. But that really doesn't concern me. I think sooner or later, Hamas will find these bodies. They'll probably surface and they'll probably hand them back to the Israelis. What concerns me, and this is from a point of view of someone on the Arab side, is the brutality that Hamas is showing even before the ink has, even before it's done with its part of the deal with Israel, that they're going after rivals inside of Gaza, killing them, executing them cold-bloodedly on camera. That's what worries me. I think, that part of the deal with Israel, I think the whole world is behind it. The whole world is focused on it. Everyone knows what's going on. But no one is focused on these Palestinians who are being shot dead, even though over the past 2 years, the world was really angry at Palestinians losing their lives in this war. But all of a sudden, these hapless Palestinians seem to be killed with no one worried about it.
Norman, what do you make of those statements? I mean, is the burden on Israel here? Is Hamas the one putting it in jeopardy?
I do not believe that we're going to get anywhere past the exchange of hostages for a handful of Gazan prisoners being held in Israel. And I would want to emphasize... You don't think it will move to phase two? Well, no. What's going to happen, in my opinion, obviously, when you talk about the future, you're engaging in speculation. But I would call mine speculation informed speculation. After each of Israel's high-tech killing sprees in Gaza, and even after Israel murdered 10 passengers on the Mavi Marmara in 2010, after each of those events, those high-tech killing sprees, Israel promised to lift the blockade of Gaza. Did it lift the blockade? No. Each time the international community said the blockade of Gaza was illegal and unsustainable. Did that stop Israel from continuing the blockade? No. And The events of October 7th were a direct result of this brutal medieval blockade of Gaza. There is no reason to suppose that this time Israel is going to even relax, let alone lift the blockade of Gaza. What will happen is, once the cameras disappear, when I say cameras, I mean the international cameras, once they disappear, we're going to return to the status quo ante October 7th with one big difference. There's nothing left in Gaza. 95% of the housing in Gaza has been pulverized.
Hussein, do you agree or disagree with that contention? Do you think Israel has any interest in moving to phase 2, rebuilding the Gaza Strip?
No, I almost disagree with every word Norman said. We can't really go back to 2010 every time we're discussing the agreement of last week. That's not how policy or politics or building anything of use to the Palestinians works. What I like to see happen is, number one, for each party who signed on the first phase to uphold the first phase. And I think this will happen. And if we follow the 20-point plan, it would have been a good roadmap to pull Gaza out of the medieval times under the rule of Hamas to a better time under the rule of a different Palestinian Authority.
May I ask the representative of the Foundation for the Defense of Washington's Slaves and Stooges, may I ask him a question? He seems to be so emphatic. He seems to be so emphatic, this representative of Washington's Slaves and Stooges. He seems to be so emphatic that Hamas has to disarm. Hamas killed approximately 1,200 Israelis, 800 of whom were civilians. That's what Israel, on average, did every week for the last 2 years. Right now, there's a consensus in the international community that it was not Hamas the past 2 years, it was Israel that was committing genocide in Gaza. Mm-hmm. It was Israel that killed not 30 children on October 7th, but at bare minimum, 20,000 children. So this representative
what's your question
of the defense
to Mr. Hussein?
allow me to finish.
Yeah, what's the question for him?
This representative of the defense of Washington's slaves and stooges.
Defense of democracy.
Why aren't you asking for Israel, who by international consensus was committing genocide in Gaza? Why aren't you asking for them to disarm? Mr. Slave and Stooge.
Okay, it's Mr. Hussein Abdul Hussein. Yes, go ahead and respond to Norman.
Of course, I'll just ignore the ad hominem because that's not my way of debating. I'll stick to the ideas.
You're a slave and a stooge.
Someone who's invested in that part of the world. When Israel and Lebanon were at war, I have family and friends who were suffering that war. I was not just sitting in New York and trying to pick a fight with Israel. Israel can do whatever it wants to do. My concern is on the other side. I want the Lebanese, I want the Palestinians, I want family I grew up with in that
your
part
concern
of the world
is your paycheck. Your concern is your paycheck.
We'll just show we can disagree on points, but we will be respectful to our other panelists. You can continue.
I'm not respectful of a slave and a stooge.
We're not going to call names, Norman. We're going to disagree on points, but we're not going to dissolve into name calling. Hussein Abdul Hussein, continue your response, please.
Thank you. My point here is that as an Arab American, my concern is to practice introspection, is to fix the situation so that the people in my part of the world can live a decent life. Now, Israel can be wrong. Israel can do whatever it wants to do. Mr. Norman has an issue with Israel. That's on him and the Israelis.
Jamal, yeah, you want to say something there?
In my view, Hamas did a catastrophic mistake doing the October 7th the way it did it. I wish it didn't take place. I wish it didn't happen. But I think this is the best day of Benjamin Netanyahu's life. Without October 7th, he most probably would have been ousted. He would be out of power, or he may be even in prison. The way I read this Trump plan, it's a capitulation plan for Hamas. It's a chronology. It's the chronology of disappearance. They want Hamas to sign on finishing its rule in Gaza, and I'm not sure it has it has a choice. If you ask me prior to October 7th what the ideal solution would be with Hamas, it would be for Hamas to hand in its weapons to the Palestinian Authority, to reinstall the Palestinian government in Gaza, to probably create a government of national unity. That was possible. That was realistic. Hamas rejected all this. Instead, they decided to go this path, this dangerous path, and we ended up with Gaza completely destroyed. The people are on the street. The situation as it is well known to everyone.
Norman?
It's regrettable that your two other guests seem not to be aware of what Hamas agreed to. I am not here to defend Hamas, and I am not here for no reason at all because I have some particular personal animus towards the state of Israel. I have only two concerns, what's truthful and what's just. Now let's start with the truthful. Your two guests, if they are capable of reading, will know
we are
that
capable.
Hamas agreed. Okay, then you are, then let's remember. What was Hamas's statement? Did Hamas agree to disarm? In its statement, did it agree to disarm? Let's have a simple yes or no, because you're accusing Hamas.
Well, I think
of
Hamas can
breaking
read
its
both
promise.
Arabic and English, and I think they know what they have signed.
I didn't ask you what you think. I'm asking for facts.
I thought you did.
It's called.
I thought you asked me. I'm sorry.
My friend. It's called truth, my friend. Did Hamas, in its reply to the 20-point so-called peace plan, ceasefire plan, did it agree to disarm? Or did it make an explicit stipulation that those questions or their response to those questions would come later? Did they agree to disarm?
Jamal?
I would like to hear a clear yes or no.
Are you asking me? I really don't care what Hamas says, but I've heard what Mr. Trump, your president,
I didn't ask you what you care about. You're blaming Hamas for breaking the agreement. So I'm asking a simple question. It's not difficult.
I didn't, Mr.
It's not
Fenkelstein. If I may, with all due respect, Hamas has not yet broken the agreement. This still is to be seen. They may honor the agreement.
Thank you.
Or they
now
may
let me hear that.
This is up in
let me hear that.
The air.
Let me hear that from your other guests.
Just one sentence, please.
Let's hear it from the other guests. Did Hamas agree to disarm?
This is my answer. Yes, this is my answer. First of all, I find it ironic that the New Yorker is lecturing two Arab natives on what should and should not happen between Hamas and the other guys, whether in Gaza or in Lebanon. This is number one. Number two, long before Hamas committed the atrocity of killing 1,200 Israelis, it killed 350 Palestinians in 2007 from the Palestinian Authority. Their names are still there on the website. You can, and thank you for the correction. You can check it out. Hezbollah did the same. It killed so many Lebanese before it engaged in war with Israel. So as Lebanese and Palestinians, we want Hamas to be disarmed long before the war in Gaza happened, long before October 7 happened. Now it just happens that all of us are aligned to see Hamas disarmed. This should not take from
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. All the Arab slaves and stooges would like to see Hamas disarmed. I agree with that point.
If you can resist using slurs against our other guests, we will keep things civil and we can debate
Those
the
are
points.
not slurs. Those are dictionary definition words. A slave and a stooge.
Yes, but I'm
people who are paid generously. People who are paid.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Hussein would
serve the interests of
Mr. Hussein, is that how you consider yourself? Just to give you a chance to reply to Norman there.
Why are you attacking everyone who didn't attack you? Or you should attack us if we disagree with you on something. I still did not see where did we disagree.
And let's just let Mr.
Where do you disagree with anything I said? What's your disagreement with what I said?
I'll answer that question because Israel just committed the genocide in Gaza. And you're blaming the whole thing on Hamas. And that's pretty disgusting.
I did not say that.
And
I thought you understand better English than me.
And you are a repellent reptile. You're a reptile.
Okay, let's again, Norman. I respectfully request you to not use slurs against our other guests. I'm going to move us on to our next segment because we've got a lot to cover, and we might just decompress a little bit from that. Hussein, what do you think about what President Trump said? Is the world loving Israel again? Do you think that that's a correct statement?
I really can't speak for the whole world. From the surveys that we see in the United States, it seems that the numbers have remained pretty steady with a younger population against Israel, the older population still supportive of Israel, and the war clearly changing views and opinions. So before October 7th, there was the views and opinions were something. After October 7th, things tilted against Israel. Now the war has stopped, fingers crossed, of course, because I know the guest might say it hasn't stopped yet. I'm hoping that the ceasefire will hold. Now that it's stopped, we will have to give it some time and then survey the people again and see what happens. I know that during war, any party that's engaged in war tends to lose support, whether it's President Bush or whether it's Bibi Netanyahu, anyone who engages in war. So I'm not sure this is the true measure, the true gauge. We'll have to wait and see.
Jamal, I saw you shaking your head when I put that first comment to Hussein.
I think this conflict didn't start with Hamas, who joined the Israeli-Palestinian conflict 70 years later, after it has started. I didn't say in one word that the conflict is to blame and Hamas to blame. We know that Israel has created and booby-trapped the complete atmosphere, probably has tricked Hamas into this stupid mistake of October 7th. October 7th was an attack on the very existence of the Palestinian image in the world. We're not a people who kill children, who kidnap women and young girls. That's what Israel does. So when you debate Palestinians, please pay attention to not lecture them on who Israel is. And prior to this discussion, I respected you a lot. I even read your book. This is called The Industry of Holocaust. I read it a long time ago. It was translated into German. But please be more civil with the people you discuss with. Thank you.
Norman, what's your take on the question of whether the world is loving Israel again? Is it rehabilitating its image on the world stage? And of course, feel free to respond to Jamal's comments as well.
I'll first respond to Jamal's comments. Mr. Jamal, I've listened to the statements of Mr. Abbas over the past 2 years. In every public statement I have heard, he has blamed Hamas for the horror that has beset Gaza the past 2 years. Every public statement of his has blamed Hamas. Now, you're a Palestinian and you say you know the Palestinian situation. So I assume you are aware before October 7th, the people of Gaza were under a brutal siege. I assume you are aware that Israel put them under what they called a humanitarian minimum diet, where they only allowed a minimum number of calories in for the people of Gaza. I'm sure you are aware that periodically Israel launched its killing sprees in Gaza. I am sure you are aware.
People. I monitored this.
Yeah, right. Fine. And then come October 2023, Gaza had disappeared from the international political stage. Whether you like it or not, Mr. Jamal, Hamas attempted international diplomacy. Hamas attempted nonviolent civil resistance, the Great March of Return, that began March 30th, 2018. Mm-hmm. By the way, Jamal, since you are interested in facts, not your fictions, what did the Palestinian Authority do in support of the Great March of Return? Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what it did.
Well, we'll let Jamal respond, and then we do need to get back on to topic.
Allow me to finish. It suppressed.
You asked a question. I think you deserve an answer.
Yes.
So we'll let Jamal respond to your question, Norman, and then we'll turn back to the topic at hand. Jamal, your response to Norman's question?
Fatah, you're talking to the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the Palestinian Liberation Movement. That is Fatah. You know the history of Fatah. You know who Fatah is, and you know what Fatah did, and you know what Arafat did between the years 2000 and 2005.
For 43 years, I know.
Let me finish. When Hamas joined this conflict in 1991, their first operation against the Israeli army was in Nablus when they killed 1 Israeli soldier. 1991, that's almost 100 years after the Arab-Israeli conflict has started. Fatah started working against Israel in 1960, but we believed in making peace. However, Netanyahu aligned himself with Hamas and allowed them to torpedo the peace process through the suicide bombings. I will never forgive neither Netanyahu nor Hamas for destroying the possibilities of peace. Ever since, Mr. Netanyahu himself has been either head of the opposition or head of the government, and in either capacity, he has done his best to destroy every possibility, using Hamas as his pretext, his stupid idiots, the Hamas, to destroy the prospect of peace. What has President Abbas done? Well, I tell you what he did. I hope you know it. He signed the Roma Convention, which gave Palestine, the state of Palestine as it is now, the right to be member of the ICC. In this capacity, Mr. Netanyahu cannot travel to most countries of the world because most of the world's countries are members of the ICC. This is what Abbas did. I hope as scientists like yourself, widely respected, also by myself, does know that. Do you know this? I assume you don't, because you asked me what we did. But your question was what we did to the March of the Return. You know who created the civil resistance. It's Fatah. We invited Hamas to participate in the civil uprising. They always despised this. They said this is like suicide. We don't want it.
I would like to ask this member of the Foundation in Defense of Democracies. You seem to be very concerned about the rule of law and democracies. I wonder, sir, what's your opinion of that democracy in Egypt? Can you say a few words about that democracy in Jordan?
Okay, Norman, I'm going to pause you there. We're going to turn it back to our topic at hand. Jamal, I want to ask you, we're talking about international...
That is your topic.
It's not really...
That is your topic.
There's a topic we have to talk about. As Hussein said, we must draw a line between Muslims and Islamists. These fanatic movements, some of them were mentioned, some weren't. They don't represent Islam. To them, I'm an unbeliever. To them, we are seculars who do not deserve the same right or even to be alive. That's our issue with people like Hamas, Mr. Fenkelstein. It's not the fact that they resist the Israeli occupation, as we all did at some stage. We saw different forms and ways that were available to us according to the international law. Our disagreement with them doesn't have to do with Israel. It's a social, ideologic disagreement because they want to Islamize even Muslim societies. They're like a malignant part of the Islamic world, and they have been supported, guess by whom? Sometimes by the Israeli government.
Norman, do you want to respond to that?
Speaking of things I've heard, I've still not heard you respond to the question of whether your president, Mr. Abbas, the past 2 years, has been blaming everything on Hamas for what happened during the past 2 years. I've not heard you respond to that. Well, I've listened to the statements.
Do you want to give me the chance to respond now? If you wish, I would.
Yes.
If you want, I could respond to this. To us, as a national movement working for creating a Palestinian state, at this critical time in this world, which is dangerous, it is very important to distance ourselves from what Hamas did on October 7th. I say this as a spokesman of a movement who had struggled against the Israeli occupation in so many ways. And at the end, we came to believe that creating a Palestinian state on the side of Israel, instead of creating a Palestinian state instead of Israel, as Hamas tries to make us believe it wants to do, is the right way. The right way is creating peace, creating a Palestinian state. This is what we want. Mr. Abbas hasn't blamed Hamas for everything. He has condemned Israel for what it did. But he has every right, being a representative of the Palestinian people, to distance himself from Hamas, which is becoming the pariah of the world, much as Israel itself is.
Sir, with all due respect, you have a paycheck to earn. So I understand what you're saying. However,
I don't think it's useful to insult people you're talking to. I could do the same to you, but I really wouldn't.
Okay, allow me to finish.
I'm capable of. Trust me.
Allow me to finish. According to all the public opinion polls in the West Bank, about 25% of the Palestinian people support Abbas.
Which are financed by the United States.
25%. Now, if you look at the number of people employed by the Palestinian Authority, it comes to about 25%. So the only people in what you said, Abbas represents the Palestinian people. No, he doesn't. When was the last election in the West Bank? Can you tell the audience?
Have you? This is the same words
you said. When was the last election?
The representative of the state
when
of
was
Israel
the last election?
Exactly these words at the Assembly of the United Nations, inciting against the Palestinian Authority. So he is happy to hear you discrediting and delegitimizing the Palestinian Authority. This is what Danny Danon has said.
You said he represents. You said he represents
Of course
the
he does.
Palestinian people. When was
Of
the
course he
last
does.
election? When was the last election?
Well, we tried to hold elections in 2021, and they
When
were
was
blocked
the
by
last
Israel because they
election?
bombed
Please answer the question.
Jerusalem. So
When
we
was
had
the
the
last
choice.
election?
Either we hold elections without
I
Jerusalem,
didn't ask you
or
that.
we hold elections.
Yeah, well, I'm just asking you a simple,
Okay.
factual question. When
We're
was
not
the
in
last
the
election?
classroom, Mr. Finkelstein.
All right. All right, we're going to
Maybe
leave
the
this
answer
here.
should
This
be
is a
this.
debate. We might move this on because we're very shortly going to run out of time. So I'm going to...
Just quickly, this argument
ahead.
cuts both ways. Quickly, the PA didn't hold elections in the West Bank. Hamas has been ruling Gaza since 2007. It didn't hold elections in Gaza either. So this is not really a game of who was elected and who was not. The last time everyone was elected.
But we did hold
last time
elections.
everyone was elected.
By October 6th, 2023, the only talk in town was whether or not the Saudis were going to join the Abraham Accord. At that point, when it looked like the people of Gaza would be left to languish and die in that concentration camp, they launched the attack. Once the attack was launched and Israel retaliated with its genocide in Gaza, every Arab state colluded with the US and Israel in order to see that the people of Gaza were crushed by the Israeli genocide. With the honorable exception of the Houthis, and at a lower level, the Hezbollah, every other leadership in the Arab world left Israel a free hand to murder the people of Gaza. In fact, it was South Africa, not an Arab state, it was South Africa that went to the ICJ to stop the genocide in Gaza.
All Arab states have supported South Africa doing it.
Every Arab state was happy to see Gaza pulverized so that they can re-enter that normalization that was going to occur before October 7th.
This is really counterproductive. We are totally appreciative of the role of Saudi Arabia, which has masterminded the peace conference in New York alongside with France. They have brought international recognition to the state of Palestine by major states who had their say in creating Israel, like Great Britain, France, and other states, Canada, Australia. This is very important, and this wouldn't have taken place without the support of Saudi Arabia, who is the biggest donor of the aid entering Gaza. The same goes for Egypt, UAE, and all other countries.
Again, it's really interesting that someone in New York is just bashing all Arab governments and almost all Arab people, and just saying the two parties that count are the two violent non-state actors, the Houthis and Hezbollah. And, as someone who grew up with Hezbollah, this offends me. But anyway, I'm not the point, and Hezbollah is not the point. I'm happy that the war is over, and I want phase 2 to happen. Unfortunately, I don't feel or think it's going to happen. I want it to happen. I want Hamas disarmed. I want a new Palestinian Authority to get back Gaza, maybe build a government and just replicate the experiments everywhere else, or the West Bank. So things can happen, but we really have to step back from the language of war and of accusing everybody else of treason and using ad hominem against people we disagree with.
Gentlemen, we'll have to leave it there. We appreciate all your opinions and your diverse points of view here on Counterpoint.